Hello, good evening. Chris Hughes here on a Thursday evening for another YouTube live. Today I'm joined by NEBC Titans, Leon Henry. I'm really looking forward to sharing and getting to a lot of different topics. Welcome, Leon. I hope you're well.
Very well, thank you very much. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. So thank you for joining us. It was a little bit rushed on my part. I lost track of time. I was getting my dinner ready and I thought, gosh, it's 7. So I thought, rush in and get going. And I know you're a busy guy. So thanks for coming on. Really appreciate you coming on. Um, I hope you're well.
Thank you. More than welcome.
No worries. Awesome. So for people who don't know, we have these two screens for you guys to see here, and sometimes we have a little chat before, and it was a guest I had on the other day, and they came on literally the same frame as they had when they rehearsed it with Rupert before. So it also makes you jump when the guys come on. So it's glad to have you on. I thought maybe we could start a bit about your basketball journey, sort of what inspired you to get into basketball, and a bit about your journey to today.
Yeah, so funny enough, I found basketball by accident, which was it was not really a really compelling story, but essentially one of my good friends, who currently lives out in New Zealand at the moment, um, was the basketball player of our group. Now, at this particular time, I think I was around about 10ish, maybe 11ish. Didn't really know, where what I was doing or what sport. I like sport, love sport. I didn't know what I was actually relatively good at. I knew I could run quite fast, so running was always something that I did, but essentially not at a massive level. Um, and then one time, in them times there where you used to kind of just play out with your friends and whatnot, I turned up on his doorstep and he had a trial for the county team at that particular time. And it was an open trial, so anyone could go at that particular time. And the weirdest thing was, we got there, had no basketball experience whatsoever. I never even picked one up, I don't think, at that point. Um, and one coach out of, I think, 8 picked me to actually go into the next round. I think the rest of them said he just hasn't got the skill level or anything like that at that particular point. Um, but one coach actually did believe in me at that time, and he actually didn't get picked at all. Period. And before you know it, I was actually on that county side, no experience, no nothing, and playing against some decent level of competition. Back then, it was like the Haringey's and some really good lengthy competition, which kind of spruced my career a little bit because I really enjoyed it, even though I wasn't that great at it. Um, and then I took it really, really seriously from like under 14s to under 15s level, where I started training with a lot of older people. Um, and the older groups, you were getting hit, bumped, bruised, especially back then as well. You were getting really, really tested in camps and things like that, like weekly camps that we used to go to. Um, and then I think it was around about my under 16 year where things really took off. Now, I wasn't a very good passer at the ball then, and I think most of my teammates, even now, some of them are on the same team as me now, would probably vouch for that. That I wasn't, I wasn't the assist guy in our team. I was always the guy that ran in layups. So you speed quite a lot to actually running quite a lot of layups. But I averaged a fair amount of points, and I've somehow become really, I would say, really competitive and really in the mix of people at that level at the time. So yeah, that's kind of where it manifested from and where it grew from. Um, it wasn't down to any sort of coach how I got into it. It was actually down to one good friend who I'm still very good friends with now and have been for 20 plus years. And I have a lot to thank him for, to be honest with you. It's taught me a lot, a lot of stuff over the years, and it's probably the reason why I'm here in the way I am today.
Interesting. Going back to a bit what you said earlier, how you sort of stumbled on basketball. That's how I sort of come into, as a fan, got made aware of basketball. Sort of just stumbled on it, and I'm wondering, whether, as I got you here now, maybe what your thoughts on why maybe people like yourself and yourself sort of stumble on it. What can we do to sort of raise the level, the understanding of basketball, maybe sort of so that people aren't stumbling upon it, people and know about it from a young age, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very good question, and I think it all kind of stems from the top, I would say. I mean, basketball wasn't made aware to me until it popped up out of the blue, out of nowhere. But it could have easily not. I could have easily have turned up maybe half an hour late to that person's doorstep, and I would have never even been playing basketball ever. So it's weird to kind of think of it like that. I think it starts from I think UK and Great Britain, how they devised basketball and tried to make it um, the best level it possibly can be in this country, and give you know not only players something to aspire to in this country, but also give people a platform to raise awareness about it as well. Um, Now it's tough. We don't live in a basketball nation, um, which is a shame because I think it's the second most played sport in the whole country recreationally. I think what we all need to do, I think maybe a better job at doing it is just raising awareness where people can actually go to who have interest in basketball. I get a lot of questions all the time. Where can I put my son? Where can I put my son? Oh, I've got a cousin. He's 11. I've got a cousin. He's 9. And sometimes it's hard to know where to send them. Um, and it goes up to even college ABL level where they what academy is good to go to, and I think it's up to academies as well to kind of broadcast what they do best, um, and thus give people themselves a platform for people to go, do you know what, I'm aspiring, I really want to go to Barking, I really want to go to Itchin, I really want to go to Cola, I really all these places that have really good basketball academies, but not necessarily known to everyone. They only be known to the basketball world, and that's something that we can actually probably push out to the broader audience, I think.
Definitely, I think you raised some really good points about how maybe some academies aren't as loud shouting about themselves, but others, I know I've learned more about Harry this year. Maybe they're underrated, but I think that's more not from basketball perspective, but in terms of general media perspective, getting the name out there. And it's interesting you mentioned international, just it sort of challenged my thoughts, but actually I do understand, like, if the international team's doing well and everyone's hearing about it, obviously the 6 7 year old is then cleared onto that more than say at grassroots or P level. So really interesting and really good to hear your ideas about it. And obviously you mentioned a bit about your basketball career, so we'll get back to that in a bit. But I thought also, because you're not all just about basketball, you're about music, and that's been a really big part of your life. And I was wondering who sort of inspired you, what gave you the idea to start making music, because you're doing that to a really good level.
Thank you, first of all, really do appreciate that. So essentially, I've actually been doing music for quite some time, and I say quite some time. I took a massive, lengthy break from it. Now, going back to when I actually first aspired to, play basketball at the best level I possibly could, I knew that one thing, I couldn't do both things at one time. Um, I was I'd say around about 14, 15 when I first started making music. Back in the day of, the grimes, and, back in the day before, Instagram and Twitter and everything could push this music out there. It would be go with your friends to go to like a social club for like under 16 year olds, and like kind of perform really low level mic stuff. Used to record throughout old school mics, and if I listen to some of them things back now, the sound quality on them is absolutely horrendous. um, but there wasn't really much of a UK scene at that particular time. There was, but it was nowhere near on the level that it is now. um, and it was either that or basketball for me, and I become progressively good at basketball, I believe, for that particular level. So I stuck it out, and went through a career in tried to go through a career in basketball. Um, music now, I've always been able to make it. So I've got a friend who I'm actually in a music group with. It's called Set Trends Music Group. So if anyone wants to find any of our music or anything like that, if you just pop that in on YouTube, you will find that. Um, but yeah, I've always been inspired by music's an incredible thing to me, and I think it makes the world go round. I don't know what the world would be like without music. And I've always been inspired by it, and I've always been inspired by the type of music that I actually made even back then. So I knew I could always, adapt into the style we have now and make something really, really big of it. I didn't think it would be as big as it currently is. I've been put in touch with quite some household names. So if you think of things like DJ Charlie Sloth, Um, I've recently been in contact with DJ Target from One Extra. Um, they're quite big household names that have been doing it way longer than I have, and stayed in the music industry even when I dispersed and have now come back. Um, so yeah, I mean, my inspiration for me was always, my passion for music. Um, but I always had a feeling that I can do what these big artists and these big, names are actually doing. So, for me at the moment, it's a very good level, but it's only going to improve, and the work rate's there, and it's only going to get better. And you're going to see some I think some really big things from Leon in the near future.
Good. It'll be wait to see all that, and I'm sure you'll deliver. So it's been really good. And you mentioned some people you've been in touch with. What advice have they given you in terms of like taking the next step, and what do you think that next step will be for yourself?
Right. So yeah. So the good thing about social media is that, if you can get hold in contact with these people, they actually do give you great advice. So some of the advice I've had was that the work rate is key, and you can't expect, and it's just like anything really, you can't really expect to go to the places you want to go to without working as hard as you can, and putting everything out there. But you've also got to work smart as well. It's not about working fast, it's about working smart with this, um, and they've said that, even, getting to a point on their level where they don't have to ask for anything is kind of the point I would like to get to. So people know that when they hear, me on a track, that's Lee. Like I said, they know who that is immediately without even knowing. Um, the establishment, and obviously, of course, making a great living out of it for something that I'm really passionate about would be, the serious next step for me. Um, I've got something in the pipeline now with COVID-19 happening. I don't know what the situations are, regarding, people being in big arenas, etc. But just be knowing that when that lift does come off and everyone goes back to normal, you're going to see some very, very, very big things, I believe, from Lee, like I said, and it involves things like Sky Sports, and it involves things like box office. So, um, stay tuned. But my advice to everyone is, and the advice they've given me is to keep pushing, keep grinding, no matter how, low level of, engagement you seem to see. It's the difference between giving up and actually succeeding. It's that middle there, just of actually pushing through. So work ethic is very, very important, and I stand by that. So anyone that's out there is looking to do the same thing, I would advise that, keep on grinding and take advice from anyone around you.
Definitely. I think a lot of the advice you said is sort of quite related to other topics, not just if you're trying to be a musician, but if you're trying to be a media person, or you're trying to be the next big baller. I really like to get sort of history, because obviously you say Lee, like I said, and obviously that's your brand. What was the inspiration behind that? What does that mean to you? It's quite a unique message, I imagine.
Yeah, so Lee, like I said, it was weird because we were trying to think of a name, for a while, and I believe I even at this might actually be completely different from what was actually said, but I say like I said quite a lot. Um, and Lee is just the first part of my name. So Lee, like I said, just rolls off the tongue for me. Now, what I found out is that it rolls off the tongue for me, but not for everyone else. So when everyone's looking at my actual Instagram name, they don't know how to pronounce anything that I'm saying. It's either like I said, or it's lie like I said, or it's Lee. It's never anything else. So I try to change it up and mix and match it. Um, but eventually it'll get to the point where people actually do know what it is. I mean, you could call me Lee for all I care, as long as you know who it is on the track. um, it is, but that's kind of the message behind it. And to be honest with you, it's just something that rolls off, my tongue really well, and it's something that's going to stick with me.
Definitely. I think if you say if you had different variations, you still got that common thing. It's like I said, about your voice, about your whatever you choose to do as you evolve. Um, I say obviously it's a really important part of your life, music and also the basketball. How it must be quite hard to sort of balance the two, and it must probably influence the other in terms of decision making. And obviously, being in D3 this season, are you starting to think about what you'll do next year, whether it be more basketball related, be more music related, or try and combine the two? Because I imagine it's quite a tough balance.
Yeah, do you know what? It's it's a strange one for me. It's more. I seem to have more time now to combine the two than I ever did before. Um, and that's probably because of obviously experience in the field per se. Um, or whether or not it's just because over time and over years I've sort of developed organizational skills, whereas back when I'm 14 and 15, who thinks of organization? Like nobody. So essentially balancing the two back then was quite tough for me because I put my heart and soul into one channel, which was basketball, and then something had to take a back seat. If I'd have thought about it a little bit more, I could have probably organised the two, around it. But I chose to just, follow my heart at that particular time, and that's what it was. Um, this year, I did play Division Three, and to be honest with you, it was easy to combine the two. It was actually really easy to bind the two because you can write lyrics and you can have an idea for a song anywhere in the world. Doesn't matter where you are. Most of the time, I'm speaking to maybe one of my friends, or I could be walking down the street or walking through a park, and I see something, and that's triggered something in terms of a lyric, and I write it down in my notebook. So you can actually find ideas, for song and content anywhere. Um, in terms of like wordplay, etc., etc. Um, Next year um, it's the workload is going to, tenfold go up. I thought this year was going to be, really, working hard for me. It's going to be increased, times 10 next year, I believe. Um, and I believe I'll be able to easily combine the two, no matter where I am. I know obviously training commitments and game commitments and everything like that do come into play, but it's all about managing your time. And what's really important to you. If you really want to get something done, you'll do it, and you'll find time for it. And I have a major passion for both, so I'll find time for definitely both.
Definitely, again, really great messages, and definitely things I've learnt myself. And I feel if you have those things like the organisation, the passion, and time management skills, you can get a lot more done. And it's good to see that you've got that message on. I think that will age you well. You mentioned a bit about playing D3 this season. Maybe people not aware, your team was 13 for 0, I think, and obviously won D3 East. How was that season for you? What was the expectations going in? And then maybe a few highlights of the season itself.
Yeah. So the thing about it is that I was almost close, and this is strange. Like I was tied up between two teams at one point. Um, I'd been, you know, I went to Essex Leopards for their kind of like pre-workout and stuff like that. I played in the USA Select game for them as well. Um, However, it was weird for me because I'd been in D1 for quite a substantial amount of time, um, and thinking about coming down, and you, you know hopefully it was more of a hope that if anything that we would get, we would increase up into the rankings into D2 and then eventually into D1. Um, but I took a massive hunch on the players that were around me at the time. We've got a lot of ex D1 players in our squad, and also a lot of players who potentially could even play D1, but just have, for some reason, either haven't chosen to, or they've come from a junior program, and they haven't had the experience to experience that particular field. Um, I got into practice on the very first day. Of D3, and realized I was actually I was with a D1 team. I was with a D1 setup. Um, and it proved it throughout most of the year. As you say, 13-0. I'm not going to lie to you. I'll be very, very honest. I think certain teams were probably lucky that playoffs didn't come around. And that's what we were waiting for. A lot. It became like we want to win the league. We want to get promoted. We did that, and we already knew we were probably going to do that from game 7 or 8 or 9. It was just a case of by how much we were going to beat these teams by, and by we didn't think we were going to be doing it to the level we were doing it. I think our last game we won by 116 points, which is something that you just don't see that often. I think Solent were the only team who really, really started to boss teams around in that extent. But we were waiting for that one game. I would say that that took us that extra margin, that extra level, because I think we only went around about 50% maximum, if that, the whole entire year, losing some players throughout as well. Um, but yeah, we wanted everything last year, and this year, if all goes well and we get where we're supposed to be, which it should be, Division Two, we'll want everything again. The team's only going to get stronger. You can take my word for that. And we're only going to be up in the gears as much as we possibly can, because I don't think anyone knew about Northamptonshire Titans, but they will come next year.
Definitely. And for people who maybe not aware of them, I say a 13-0, and I was looking, I think you averaged 120 points a game for about roughly about 73 and a half again. So you're talking like similar storylines to what you said about Solent D1. So I think for teams around D3, D2 on the map, I think, I can't remember who I was speaking to the other day, they were like, oh, we wish we were in the same conference as you guys, give you a test, have a look, see what you guys are about, and obviously you hope to keep going. And for me this season, I think what's been really sort of reaffirming to believe following NBLs, but there's a lot of talent, like you said yourself, there's a lot of talent in lower leagues that can be played up. And I thought maybe some players you came across maybe on your team, but also maybe across your conference that you feel could be playing D1, so maybe some fans might have a better awareness of the league. So
Yeah, no, of course. Several. If we even take my team alone, I could probably vouch for. Let me think. A solid 4 or 5, including myself, that either have played D1 or should be playing D1. So if you think of Jason Tucker, he's played D1 before previously. Who was, just a, unbelievable in terms of what he brought, in terms of game wise. It's almost surprising that he hasn't been playing in D1 a lot longer than he should have been, because he deserves to be there. We've got Leon Francis as well, who actually did go to play D1
yeah,
throughout some of the year. Daniel Turicki, who's um, 6'9" big man. I think he could play there. Merson Paul, he's also played a bit of D1 before. Loads of players on our team. Hayden, maybe even Dre as well. There's a fair few players on our team that could probably handle it at that level. If I'm looking around the league, and it's quite hard because we only played a fair few amount of teams in our conference. Josh Smith from Nottingham was very good for his team, I would say. Aidan Saunders, who played for Thames Valley before, he played for County Upper. There was another guy in there who played BBL and County Upper's team called Ryan Wilson as well. He could definitely play D1. We didn't get to play him, but there was a guy in Essex team. I think his name was Howard, or Tim Howard. I think his name was Tim Howard or something like that. Something like that. Howell or something along that lines. But he was averaging like 38 points each game, and he came quite late. They're the players that I see that could probably easily do some things in D1. But D1's a hard league. I think people misconstrue, like, oh yeah, we'll go from D2 to D1. It's the jump from D2 to D1 is unbelievable, and I think teams know that from jumping up to D1, and some teams have actually come straight back down again and then jumped up again and straight back down again, and it's just quite hard to to find that balance to be a successful D1 team. You just got to play a lot smarter. I think coaching's got to be a lot better. I think the way you recruit and what you're looking for in your team that's going to make it work has to be a lot better. It can't be just a case of you just recruit all the most athletic talent that you can find, because that might not necessarily make a team for you. But yeah, I think there's a lot of players in there that can do those things, for me. But just most of them just happen to be on my team, which was an added bonus.
of course. And yeah, I didn't want you to feel like you're undervalued D1 at all. It's just, there are a lot, like you say, a lot of talent out there. Maybe people not where Liam Francis went off to Reading because of the AG car injury. And like you say, he did really well. He fit in,
Hmm.
lined up to water. So for me, it's been a really good learning experience, sort of learning a bit more about players in D3, D2, who'd probably more than easily make that jump up to. But obviously, as a team, we say it's difficult and there's a lot of challenge to navigate as well. I think she said yourself, you spent a lot of time in there and you played under some great coaches like Solent, Hemel, and Leicester. Um, what are some of the best things you learned that sort of really reinforce that D was the best, a good league to be? Because obviously, if you're around those good coaches giving you good advice, probably some bits of it you'll look back
Yeah.
on and really sort of age in your journey.
Yeah. So, for me, I mean, looking back, especially in the three establishments that I played in, Hemel, Leicester, and Solent, for me, I think a highlight from what I took the most from um, was probably my 1 year in Solent. And the reason for that is because, again, I think coaching is extremely important. You can have all the talent in the world, and I think coaching is going to get you over that next hump. If all else fails and talent doesn't work for you in a particular game, it's coaching that's going to win you the next game. Um, and Matt, from Solent, just knows what he's doing, in terms of a practice perspective, a game perspective, a scout perspective. He does everything. He does everything himself. It's strange. Like, you usually have a team that will out guy. They do a scout, and you have practice. Sometimes you'll have like practice coaches and stuff like that will help you. We did have an assistant in Jack as well. Credit to Jack as well. But Matt, being the silent assassin that he is, because he doesn't talk that loud as a coach, and you hear a lot of coaches bellowing at sidelines. Matt's very, very cerebral, and he's very, very quiet. But sometimes you can see what he's thinking, and what he does in game time, for me, has been second to none. Um, he's he's pulled games back where sometimes they haven't been, most other teams would have crumbled. I remember, one game we had when I first joined Solent against Manchester. I think we went down 21-4 at home, um, and somehow we just clawed it back through scheming defenses, through playing the way that he's asked us to play, and it worked. Won a national trophy there. Um, we came second in the league only by a mere head-to-head. One bad day at the office, and that's all it takes in D1. That's the difference. All it takes in D1 is that one bad day at the office, and all of a sudden, the head-to-heads don't look so great. So even if you beat the team that beat you, you then got to hope for them to again lose again, and then hope, obviously, that you then also win the rest of your games. And all of a sudden, there's a massive difference between you can two games it takes from coming from being probably second to maybe even seventh, in that league, and it can get really tough out there. But I'd say I learnt the most from D1 from Matt, um, simply because he just knew what to do, how we were going to win, all the defensive mechanism there. We'd even train, the mornings before games. We train the morning before that trophy final. Um, so it's crazy to even think that, establishment like that, he put so much dedication into his squads, and it's the reason why they're doing so well. It's the reason why you see them in the BBL Cup final, as opposed to the every other trophy that they've won or were going to probably win. It's just remarkable what he's done for that club, I think.
Definitely a shout out to Matt and the whole national organisation. A lot of messages you say about them are definitely echoed throughout from people I have on or observations you sort of made from watching games. So it's good to hear, but you learned quite a lot about him. And I know you were saying a bit about your own game earlier, and I was thinking, you say you're not really an assist guy. You like to run to the net and get the layups, and obviously that's a big part of your game. Is there any part of your game you're thinking of sort of trying to develop for next season, or something you think you want to add to your game?
The weirdest thing is that all changed. I know I used to actually use quite a lot of, you know back when you was your under 16s and stuff, running and getting fast break layups and stuff could work for you. Um, but the game develops, and as you develop, and as the league develops, and you go into the men's league, it all of a sudden becomes a lot harder to just rely on certain things. So I found a jump shot. I don't know what people say you found a jump shot where I trained a lot around my jump shooting, and I actually probably shoot the ball more than probably anything else to be honest with you. What I would want to do for next year in terms of upping my game is just, I would say, I don't know if this is a personal thing, but just be more of a leader for a team defense. And when I say that, it's that I've come across many defenses in our time. Solent being one of them was excellent. Another one that was really really good that I come across was Northumbria. When we played Northumbria, there was no entries into that defense, and it all came from just leadership, from guys knew where they were. They had multiple schemes, but positioning and just scaring players and say, you ain't coming around here. Like, you ain't coming around here. We know what you can do. We've scouted what you can do, and this is how we're going to play defense on you. I think it's going to become important as of next year because the teams are going to be tougher. Depending on where we are, I don't think it matters where we are, whether we're in the north and we play the Manchester Magics of the world, or we're in the south and we play, the Ipswiches and the Westminsters, who have now just come from D2 or D1, who are going to be athletically built and strong and physical in there. So we're going to have to make life tough for them when go into the rack. No easy buckets, no second chance offenses, and that's how you'll win games. I think our offense spoke a lot this year, and it didn't really have to test our defense out that much. But I think this year is going to be a complete different and a flip reverse. So you probably see the points per game come down, but we're going to also allow the other teams as well to score less points than us, because that's the aim of the game, right? That's how you win games. So that's what I'll be looking for, just to become a leader in that aspect.
Definitely, and I say your experience shape who you are. And obviously, if you played those teams with great defense or played against them, obviously you learn from it. And I'm really glad you mentioned Northumbria because I think out of teams that have been in D1 in recent years, they're probably the team I miss most because they were. I think you alluded to it. Very good defensive team, hard to beat. Always doing solo playing them, but it was always a bit tough game. Want to maybe do a bit more in depth because obviously Mark Stewart organised that team really well. Bits about what you enjoy about watching that team play.
We talk about Northumbria here.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so it's funny. It's funny that the only time I've ever beat Northumbria in a competitive game was actually in the national trophy final, which was odd. But Northumbria was always a real tough place to go and have them there. The reason being is because they had so much attitude with everything that they did. It would kind of be like fighting someone who talks a lot in the fight game. If you think about like Conor McGregor, they had like 10 Conor McGregors, but what they did also was back that up too, and they would do everything right. It would be a really slow, sometimes methodical game, and sometimes they would just take you out of your pace. Hard to run against them. It's really tough to get calls up there as well. And what they were really good at as well, they had, when I played them anyway, they had a really good foreman in Malcolm Smith, who was, and it still is, a beast at that position. Really smart, knows how to get the shot off from the high post, and makes it very very consistently. They had Lewis Champion, who would just coordinate everything that was going on. Blaine Freckleton, who actually had the privilege to play with at Hemel, who was just a lights out shooter. Um, they had Teo, who was actually the captain of the Solent team that I was playing on as well. And I realised now why he was a captain, because everywhere he seemed to go, he seemed to win. And he didn't do anything majorly outstanding, but he'd come out with 15 boards and 2 points, and they're the stats that people don't want to get, but coaches and everyone love to see. And if you combine all them, and even their bench as well, you had like Tom Devitt, you had Simon actually, who played the 5. They had another American guy called a Feast. It could have been a Feast, Feek, something like that. Either way, he was quite strong, really talented guy. And they just kind of not only talks you into the ground but walks you into the ground too. Um, I mean, we lost on the buzzer to them in our very first game when I was at Solent, off a buzzer beater shot from Lewis. Um, and that's what kind of orchestrated the whole sort of issue between us and, well, me, I'd say, and Northumbria, because everyone loved to talk a little bit, and but we were all cool after it, and it was all great after it. And at the end of the day, it's all healthy competition, and that's all we ever want to see. But they were a tough outfit, and I do miss them being there because that's just one tough outfit. Um, less in Division One. And I was actually going to go there after Solent. It was actually one of my considerations to do my master's degree there and actually play there because I actually, and the coaching as well. Mark, brilliant guy, really, really, really horrible to play against though. Horrible guy to play against. And he knows what he's doing the same way. So yeah, I've got enough credit for Northumbria and also Mark.
Definitely, as you said, that roster for the players either in NBL D1 or the BBL, and Mark's obviously biggest news this off-season going to Teesside Lions after being the acting Team GB coach. And obviously you mentioned you won the trophy against them. What do you remember from that game? What was what went really well, and maybe what some of your memories from that game were?
Well, everything fell. The weirdest thing was is when we played them in the past. Not every shot was falling. We even had a really 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 good like jump shooting team. Just no shots were falling. Before we've got an excellent shooter in Chris Scarlett at the time as well, who's probably I would say the best shooter in the league. I can't think of anyone that could shoot better than him. Maybe Jack Burnell for Hemel, but other than that, Chris is just a lights out shooter, and that's all he does. But you still can't stop him. Nothing. And then I remember just coming out the half at the trophy final, just all guns blazing. I think we were even up like 20 something by the half. It could have been 20 or 18 or something like that. And when there's two teams, you know, at that level who were as good as they were at the time, it was just too much of a feat, I think, for Northumbria to bring that back. Because we had some outstanding players, and when everything was falling the way it was falling, there was just no way that they could, I don't think I've ever been on a part of a team that shot that well in a first half ever. It just so happens to be the trophy final with the best probable time to bring that out.
Definitely, so congratulations. People up there, he was talking about Chris Scarlett, who's sort of still contentious this season. 3-point shooter, I think he averaged 40% free. CSA is very lethal from free. You sort of mentioned a bit about Jack Burnell. Are there other shooters you came across in your league that are really sort of top shooters? Maybe people might not be aware of their talents as much.
If I just think about maybe when I was playing actually at D1, I'm just trying to think. There was obviously, of course, Chris Scarlett and Jack Burnell really stuck out for me because they were just lights out shooters. Blaine Freckleton is also a lights out shooter as well. The differences between Blaine as well is that he can actually put the ball on the floor. I think at a very good level. So you have to guard him differently because it's almost as though like you don't know whether or not he's going to shoot it or he isn't going to shoot it, but he can easily take you to the rack as well. So Blaine's definitely on my list, I would say. Martel McLemore is, I think that's his surname for Thames Valley. He can shoot really well. If I just think about it logically now, so I think about Reading. There was a guy. I don't think he's here anymore. Trey Pembleton for Reading.
Yeah, for Reading, yeah.
Yeah. He was quite a good shooter as well. In fact, a really good shooter. There's a TJ Henderson for Leicester. He's a nice shooter. He could do a lot of things, and shooting. He can also shoot the basketball as well, really well. It's really tough. I'm just trying to think about everyone else that was in the league back then. Of course, me, obviously. I'm the best there. Yeah, of course. But yeah, there was so many players that can do so many things. Barking also had a really good shooter actually as well. I don't actually particularly remember his name, but they had a really good shooter there also. But yeah, there's just loads. And and loads of talent in D1. There's a load of talent in every league. It just becomes progressively harder, um, to maintain a Div 1 side because of obviously the amount of decent players that you have in there. But yeah, there's loads of talent that I've played with and I've had the privilege to play with as well. So yeah, it's been really good. Been a really good experience.
Definitely, I say I think you summed up really well. But there's a lot of talent there, and then obviously that talent, because there's so much of it spills into D2, D3, and I'm really glad I had you on. I hope people watching sort of have a bit more appreciation for D2, D3. I think the NBL's pod is sort of slept on, and hopefully this season with so doing well, maybe more people eyes on it, thinking it, not taking it more seriously, but more appreciative. So I think it's underestimated D1, especially D2, D3, but a lot of talented teams. So thank you for coming on. We appreciate having on.
Thank
I
you.
thought we could sort of finish on maybe some advice you have for people who might be struggling during this time or missing basketball, missing music events. Maybe some advice you have for them, sort of help them keep them going during this time.
Yeah. What I would obviously say is that for me, and I know it's quite hard because we are in difficult times. The world is in a struggle right now. Um, is remain one as positive as you possibly can, and make sure that obviously that your mind is right, and whatever you need to do in order to do that, whatever it is, obviously that makes makes you happy and it gives you focus. I would recommend that you do, and whether that be the basketball, whether that be music, and whether that be anything, whether that just be playing PlayStation 4 with your friends, whatever it is that gives you focus and gives you happiness in these times, do, because um there are going to be better times at the end of this. For basketball purposes, what I would say is I've been whilst the sun's out, and whilst we've got the privilege of exercising unlimitedly, I would say be safe. I would say that not recommend you playing, full on, games with people. But what I would say is, stay ready, especially if you've got aspirations to be playing in D1, D2, D3, any of them levels. England basketball have just put out something, now, recently. I think it was even today that they put it out about the
Yeah,
levels of procedures that they're going to have in place for next year. So it looks like next year is actually going to happen. Um, and what I would suggest now is that now that uncertainty of whether or not there's going to be a league, there's not going to be a league, is there. I would suggest that you definitely stay ready. If you could get out in the sun, exercise, do some running, get some shots up, even if it's in a local park, no net, doesn't matter what it is. Just stay ready and just stay tuned, because when that time comes and we're allowed to do this again and we're allowed to train in preseason might be tough for people who haven't actually been doing anything. um and again, I know it's actually difficult in these times, but stay positive and remain focused and remain happy. There are more positive times to come, I can assure you of that.
definitely. I think you summed up really well, especially world's bit disarray with everything on in America, what's going on with COVID and everything. You beat me to punch. So maybe people not aware. So Barcelona, as you said, they've released a return to play roadmap. Essentially 5 levels. Obviously, the levels are interchanged depending on the skill. But the important thing, I think you alluded to it, is that there is a plan for season apart. I think next level is level 2. And I thought it's really clear. So it's like a what, where, how, when. So the what at level 2 be public gatherings increased, which is what we're seeing in the news. Distances removed, no carpooling restrictions, outdoor and indoor courts, and sort of drill training and behind the scenes competitions. That obviously means training, maybe some pre-season scrimmages, maybe some workouts, and then hoping that'd be autumn 20 this year, sorry, autumn 2020. And obviously dependent on government guidance. So the plans in place definitely seems like they're considering it. So for those out there missing basketball, have that sort of hope that we're aiming towards season starting on time, which is only good news, especially in current times. I say thank you for coming on again. I'll obviously plug your music site and the comment you said, the thing you mentioned earlier, we'll have it all there for anyone wanting to know more about you. And I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in D2 next season. that's everything from us. Take care, stay safe, and we'll see you again soon. Bye now.